Kelly, John, demand base. Is it my fault? Okay, answer that in a second. Welcome to Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, but I'll ask the questions here. John, did you not brief her from our last time?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
I was
going to
going
have
to
to
say
start over again. God, and I got to edit.
it's the West show.
Oh my goodness. But Kelly is here. John went to a lesser school. Kelly and I will talk. We'll use the big words. We'll use small words for John. I mean, but we're going to get through this together, okay? Because it's all our fault. So, John, thanks for coming back. Congratulations. Y'all have a new book, right? Yes, It's Your Fault. From Blame to Gain, Achieving Sales and Marketing Alignment to Drive B2B Growth. You got to be kidding me. No way. No way will sales and marketing ever get along. It's like UT, A&M. We're not going to get along. How am I supposed to believe this? Is this fiction? Is this a book? Is this a work of fiction?
I don't think so.
Strangely enough. Yeah, I was going to say, strangely enough, it's true, Wes. And I think that's the beauty and the craft and how we put it together. But I was going to say, it's been a lot of fun and probably, labor of love between Kelly and I, obviously working as counterparts in the business of demand base, sharing our experiences, representing both sides of the table, I think, which was a lot of fun in this situation.
Yeah. How did this come about? Because, I mean, it is unfortunate. There are usually silos at companies. Sales and marketing don't really get along. The tech team points fingers at both. Operations thinks everybody's idiots. Support is like, who the hell sold this thing? HR is just shaking their head, and it's like, how did y'all agree to, whose idea was this?
His idea. John was at Demand Base before I was. And he really wanted to make sure they were in the search for a new marketing leader. And he really wanted to find somebody that he got along with well, that we could really, really work across the aisle and not have tension and be really productive and collaborative in the way that we work together. And so we found each other. We got introduced by a mutual friend and figured out that we could do that. And then through that, as we started working, both me starting and getting into the story, but as we dug into what demand base is all about, which is really about sales marketing alignment. That's what account-based marketing is. It's bringing those teams together into one kind of orchestrated fashion. And we thought, man, this is a big challenge that every sales and marketing leaders. I mean, I've had bad stories. I've had great stories. John's probably had both as well. And so it just gave us a chance to kind of say, hey, let's talk about how this is working and how we want it to work and how it should work and help our customers work that way too.
And is it a coincidence that y'all are in the same city? They just happen to be that way? Because Austin is not headquarters, right?
No, San Francisco.
It's not. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
No, luck and chance. Yeah, I was going to say. I'm sorry, Kelly. I was going to say, but yeah, no, random chance in some cases. But yeah, beautiful in the way it came together in a lot of ways.
So people that don't know, I mean, demand-based go-to-market platform. What the hell is go-to-market, man? I mean, GTM, ABM, PL, all these acronyms. But what does that mean? What does that mean?
I'll start on that one. So we're rewriting our brand messaging. So pay no attention to that. But yeah, I mean, GTM is supposed to be in the new modern world. They're playing with all these terms because I think account-based marketing. My theory is that it was poorly named from the beginning. Account-based is correct, but it's not just marketing. It's account-based marketing and sales and CS and RevOps and sort of all the functions that make up go-to-market. And so account-based marketing or go-to-market kind of became a summary term that brought all those functions together. And so me plus John plus a couple other teams here really own this kind of go-to-market motion, which starts at sort of brand and top of funnel and goes all the way to closed-won revenue across both of our teams. And so demand base is a leader in that kind of technology, and we specialize in the compartment of that is account-based.
Right. And so did John hire you? Or was he just part of the interview process? Like, does marketing report to sales, or do y'all report to somebody else? Like, what's that hierarchy there?
Yeah, I'll answer it here, as you say. But no, actually, Kelly and I are peers. We both report into the CEO. we touch on this. I would say some of the cool things that we cover in the book, Wes, is like the history, of how we got here. And I think that was a fun part of like, taking, our readers through this journey. It's a lot in like how you think about some of those bad situations that Kelly mentioned, like what set them up, in the wrong ways, probably. And sometimes it is that reporting structure that can be the source of misalignment. And so we make a lot of suggestions around, where we've seen things go awry, where we see things, create dependencies or problems. And one of them was that. And so I thankfully just had the honor and privilege of being on the panel, getting to interview Kelly. And like she said, we connected in the process through a mutual friend and realized that we had a lot in common when we think about how we build and scale and grow teams.
So Demand Base is what, 600-700 employees they have?
I think, 750, 800, somewhere around there, maybe.
Okay. And so, and are you selling to companies of that size or bigger? Because I asked, because like my history was typically with smaller companies as an employee, and then I consult with bigger companies. But even small companies, there were the silos, and now like in bigger companies, in this post-COVID world, in this work from home, this hybrid space, how can companies bring people together? I mean, it seems like it's easier than ever to have silos and conflict in any size company.
Yeah, I mean, I think any size company for sure. We sell to the biggest of the big, and then we have some, smaller customers as well. So they sort of run the gamut. But yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility to have those silos. I mean, we talk a lot about this in the book. Like, I don't think remote work has helped that alignment, not being able to kind of walk across the building and have a conversation, but instead have to schedule a meeting or have tone get lost on Slack or any of the things that happen with remote work. I think that doesn't help. I think misaligned metrics can contribute to that. If what marketing calls success is not what sales calls success, if our org structures are not aligned to each other, meaning that we're operating under different priorities or different leadership styles or any of that. I mean, John and I happen to be peers, but I've worked in companies where marketing reported into the COO. I've had companies where marketing reported into sales, and that leader had sales and marketing both together. And so there's trade-offs of all of them. We talk a lot about that, but I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think people have to be aligned. The strategy has to be aligned. The metrics have to be aligned. Processes have to be in place to drive that alignment and make sure that we're continuing to move to that. And then there's a lot of softer things, I think, that come with time.
Do you have a pet? Is that a pet that I hear?
That's right. It's either tiny reindeers jingling in there or a dog collar. I think we heard there. So yeah.
I just took his collar off because he never wears it. Put it on today.
Oh, my dog. She's on our bed, and I get up first, and big lab, big loopy ears, and she always has ear problems. And what does she do? Just shake, shake, shake. I'm like, oh my, get out. I'm trying to get her out. Doesn't wake up my wife. But anyway, I've been bringing kids and pets into my show for 11 years. So. The more the merrier. Bring them on. I mean, John, he's traveling, so he didn't think I saw that bottle of whiskey under. I mean, he's drinking. I mean, look, this is like a no holds barred kind of break all the rules.
Sign up for here, John. I don't know.
I know. I was going to say, I think I'm the one who should have been worried here. 2 Aggies and a Longhorn. It's like the setup and a punchline for a really bad joke about to happen here. But yeah, I agree.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the world is crazy, but I mean, I like the name. I mean, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL, and I've gotten to know him over the years, but his book, Extreme Ownership, I mean, I see kind of the same attitude, right? Yes, it's your fault. Do you, and maybe you can't talk about this. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to like put a little block over your eyes and change your voices, but how successful are you at getting people to own whatever? I mean, like here I am, my little HOA we were talking about before I hit record, right? And like nobody wants to take ownership. We got a pool. We live in a nice area, right? But we have teenagers that hop the fence. They want to go sit in the hot tub. All right, not a big deal. We're not talking about Bloods and Crips, and people are messaging me, we need to bring back security. Security is like $30,000 for the summer. I'm like, go tell those kids, hey, do y'all live here? Okay, can y'all leave, please? I'll walk you out. They don't want to do it. Nobody wants to own anything. So, and that's where we live. If you've got 700 people with half of them remote, it's pretty easy to pass the buck. How do you get your staff to incorporate this and to adopt it?
I'll let you go first, Kelly. As I say, I feel like it's a good question. I think we've got lots of examples, Wes, of this, but it's a good one. But before I hand it over to Kelly, love the reference to Yako on this as well too. Like he, is the man. And I was going to say the Extreme Ownership book was a pretty impactful one. I didn't think about it, but we have like Extreme Ownership for sales and marketing. Maybe we found a niche accidentally on Wes's show here. But anyways, what are your thoughts on this, Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's manageable. I think what we think about it collectively as sort of sales and marketing need to be aligned. But the reality, it's the individual sellers and the individual marketers need to be aligned, which is a little bit different than this kind of overwhelming feeling of like the whole sales team or the whole marketing. It means that, my segment marketing team that's managing our enterprise campaigns and the head of enterprise sales, who's representing their team, like need to be in lockstep and make sure that we're running programs that are relevant, which means they are checking in on the content. They're checking in on the target. They're aligning on the key accounts we want to go after. They are making sure the messaging resonates. Understand the pain points. There's a feedback loop to make sure that we're getting that feedback back and forth between the teams. I mean, I think John and I are trying to set an example behavior-wise that, that we try to force, make sure that he and I are aligned so that we set that example for our frontline leaders to be aligned, that sets the example for the frontline marketers and sellers to be aligned so that we all feel like we're at least rowing in the same direction. And we're doing that together. And then I think from a KPI perspective, like we, moved away from, or we didn't move away, as long as I've been here, I've only been here about 8 months. John's been here just over a year. We want to make sure that we are all marching towards the same pipeline numbers, that we're all reviewing those pipeline numbers every day or every week, that we're all aligned to the same revenue numbers. We all want to know we all know what success looks like. We all know the role that we play in driving that success. And that me hitting some arbitrary lead target doesn't do anything to help John if I'm not hitting a pipeline target with expected close rates of the business we're bringing in, and that his team can work. And so I think those are some of those high level things. And we just put process around that, right? We have a weekly call called Pipeline Builders that we use to like just work together on figuring out where our pipeline gaps are and how we close those. We have, and those aren't always pleasant conversations. Sometimes they're tough. They're not tense, but they're more like, hey, we have real problems to solve here. Like, what are we going to do about it? And I think if we all, have trust and kind of build those relationships from the beginning, then when times are tough, hopefully we can show empathy and show up with a place of assuming good intent across the aisle. So those are some of the things I think we do. What else do you think, John?
Yeah, no, I think that's a big one. I think the way we lead, the way we communicate, the way we talk about things, I think sets the tone and expectation. I mean, I do think that, back to Extreme Ownership, Jocko had this like great code of like good, like when things go wrong, like that was his response. And, not that you said that, I've kind of harkened back to it. Like, I think the teams look to Kelly and I a lot of times and look to see how we react about things like this. And I think, where we've seen it go sideways is it turns into the blame game, right? Like people feel like they're under attack, or they feel like, there's, intense pressure and they're being put on the spot, right? And so we try and create an environment where we're all in this together as much as possible. We create, situations that I think, show the sense of urgency that we need around these topics here, but it's not meant to put people kind of on blast. It's not meant to be about how do we find the problem and quickly point all of our fingers at it really quickly here. It's really oriented around like collectively we own this and how we work together.
Yeah, because I remember one of my last jobs as an employee, I was in Vegas and I was working with a tech startup actually out of Austin, and it was a banking conference, and I had a bank prospect from Monterey Credit Union, and I was talking to the CIO, and it was an opportunity, and he happens to be at the show, and he's there with 2 others. Well, these were his assistants, and I still remember this. I remember the woman's name. She was a contractor. For marketing. And as we're talking, she walks up, inserts herself into the conversation, says, "Excuse me," zap, 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 hits all their badges. Because her objective that she was paid on was number of names entered into the system. Right. And now I'm paid on closed deals. Now, it's nice to have all the contacts in your database, right? So you know who's who in the zoo, and you can go laterally, you can go horizontally, you can go vertically. But in the big scheme of things, it's like she basically tripled my workload, right? If I didn't know who these people were to sort, sift, and separate the qualified leads and the decision makers from others, I would have, marketing says, I gave you 300 names. I'm like, well, only 100 of them were good.
Yeah.
So, and ultimately it comes from the top, right? If the absolute top is not on board with this, then everybody's bickering at each other, so get your CEO. I'm going to call him real quick. John, text me his number.
We're going to set up an intervention here. Here comes the third party in the room here.
Right. Yep. But it does come from the top. Like, how do you get that going? How do you bring all this together? Because it's fun to pick on each other, but it's a real thing. Sales and marketing typically do not get along. So y'all are biting off, taking a big bite here.
Well, I think there's a vested interest in, there's no vested interest for us Aggies to get along with Longhorns. We can say that. Like, there's no skin in the game on it.
We don't need them for anything.
Yeah, we all agree on that, right? Exactly. Okay, cool. We're good.
I even tell them, supersize it, they get it wrong. So just give me the kiosk. I'm going to use the kiosk.
Sales and marketing, we have a vested interest in that. We all benefit from the company being successful. So I think if you kind of put it in that first kind of core layer of, hey, we all want this company to grow. We all want to hit our revenue targets. We all want to make our bonuses. We all want XYZ. You back into that, then I think, and then you land on sort of a shared metric, which for us is often pipeline and revenue also, but pipeline for sure is something we can both impact. So when it's pipeline, then the question is never, to your point, on like we put names in the spreadsheet or, hey, we closed more deals. It's more of saying, hey, if we're missing our pipeline, there's one of two things happening. Either there's not enough, well, maybe three things. There's not enough volume there to convert. It's horrible quality. And the quality that's coming through is bad. It's a list of names with no kind of intentionality behind it. Or we're not converting right, meaning we don't have whatever assets we need for sales to be able to convert it to pipeline from a lead. So one of those things, but again, those are all somewhat like things we can solve, but that's not a marketing problem or a sales problem. Each of those has different owners. And so part of it is just us figuring out what's broken. And it's not about proving that one of those three is worse. So it's marketing's fault or sales faults or anything. If you notice on that cover of It's Your Fault, we sort of cross out the Y and say, well, it's actually our fault. This idea that we, and it depends on how you read your, is it your, if I'm first person, like your, it's my fault, or your, it's his fault, or, the reality is it's all of us because we're in this together. And so I think that's a big part of it. And then I think it's the tone that you set as leaders. It comes down so much to, do I sit in my staff meetings and badmouth the sales team? No, absolutely not. Like I'm never going to do that. And I would hope John, I don't think he's doing that with marketing because we all want to be successful. And so it's really about, we sit in our marketing meetings and say, how can we help sales? How do we make sure that they have the content they need, that they have the pipeline that they need, that they have the air cover in the market through good brand and social awareness and brand, perception that they need, whatever it is. And I think that's what we're always thinking is how do we solve what sales needs to go close business? And I'm sure John, on the other hand, is also thinking, great, I love what marketing's giving me. What else do we need from marketing so I can feed this back into the marketing team so we can, continue to produce stuff for them. So I think it comes down to leadership, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Leadership and balance too. Like, actually, I love your comment there, Wes, and like example about the, zapping at badge scans. One of the funny things that Kelly and I did in, kind of preparation for the book was we actually did like the false truths that we all believe about each other kind of thing. Like we did a whiteboarding session on that. That was, pretty funny and fun to run through just to hear like, what does the other side potentially say about the other in a bad environment? But I think even picking some of these examples of like, when something kind of went wrong, right? And I think the example there, it's a metric probably being kind of taken, probably for the right reasons. They're trying to capture as many, kind of folks that came by as possible, right? But I think like, treating all leads as one and, as equal, and someone who just came by to get a shirt, out of the booth and has no intention to buy, you probably don't want to characterize those as like our hottest leads, right? And so I think there's just a lot of those examples, both on marketing and sales side. I'm sure Kelly could easily, dish out her own view on this. But it's all in the balance of like, how do we navigate those metrics when they do go wrong, or if we get some kind of inconsistencies in there, and make sure that we're all, at the end of the day, gearing towards the same thing, as Kelly mentioned. Like, we all want to grow a business, right? Together. That's what those, TLAs, 3-letter acronyms stand for. It's like, go to market is basically the teams that surround the customer, and how do we make sure that we win as many customers and we grow as many customers, and make sure that we're all successful, in helping the company grow.
So in like a practical sense, like what is working today in marketing? Because people are harder to reach. It's harder to just pop in, right? You pop in somewhere and it's 10% occupied. Nobody's there. How, and you mentioned AI, and I see in the subtitle, right? Or in the, where was it? We'll do here.
There's so many Aggie jokes to be made here. I was going to say, I'm refraining because I'm the minority here.
No, the AI is on your website. It's on your homepage of your website. And I'm typically working with smaller entrepreneurs and SMBs, and I'm pummeled with these internet bros, come to my course and I'm going to show you, how to make a year's worth of content in 5 minutes. It's so AI is good, AI is bad. It's like, well, great. I'm going to use AI to screen all the crap you're throwing against the wall. And I'm telling people, if you zig when they zag, I think that the zig coming up is going to be in-person events, because we're so overwhelmed with data and noise, so how do you reach somebody today? What's working, and what do you think? Where are we going in 12 and 24 months?
I mean, from a marketing perspective, John may have a different angle from a sales perspective, but for marketing, we run a lot of, all the threads of marketing, but we run demand-based on demand-based, meaning that from a marketing perspective, we are using demand-based to run our account-based marketing, and from John's perspective, using it from a sales perspective on targeting the right customers that are showing intent. So what that means, like for simple terms, is demand-based is a tool that basically takes a bunch of data, first party, third party, whatever, your own personalized or custom bot data, whatever it is. It uses AI to take all that data and synthesize some insights, and then it activates those insights against our audience through marketing, sales, and advertising channels. That's the short answer of what demand-based does. And so the AI is sort of the processing engine that derives those insights that helps us find, to your point, the people who are actually in market for your product. So there's not a ton of waste, because you are getting your product in front of the right audience, who's showing the right interest, who's kind of raising their hand or landing on your site, or showing interest in their search, or coming up on content that's relevant to your buying group. And so hopefully what that does is it gets us in front of the right folks, so that we're not, so that John's team can, when he gets those responses that come through, he gets those people that attended our webinar, or that responded to our ad, or that stopped by our event booth, or clicked on our paid search ad, whatever it is, that those people are people who are the right audience for what we're trying to get. And then we run, on our side, we find those people and we run advertising against them. And if they show a spike, we retarget them. We invite them to our events. We invite them to the booth. We follow up with emails, all kinds of things, before they show enough interest that they rise up to John's SDR team, who then takes them, works them, and hopefully progresses them because they have a problem that we can help solve. I mean, so from my perspective, to answer your question on what's working for us, what's working has been are going after larger customers. I think ABM works really, really well going after large, complex customers who have really, not that they're complex, that they have complex need states and workloads where demand-based can really help them focus and drive insights and get to the right decision makers and buying groups. And I think that's working really well across the board. Yeah.
So you mentioned ads and retargeting. is that working better than versus, hey, attend our webinar or, download our free white paper? Like what are these executives? Are they as tired and jaded as me? or, or are they a little more reasonable and will respond with the right message? Cause it's like, I feel like, it's like I'm starting to advertise because I'm just becoming my own customer, I guess. Like all the newsletters, everybody's got a newsletter, everybody's got a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a good ad. I'll click that. Let me just get right to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, yes and no. I would say that they serve different purposes. So when we run an ad, it typically is about brand air cover. People don't click on ads so much anymore because they don't want to get retargeted. They don't want they don't want to leave a trail, all the things. And so, but it creates a little bit of brand awareness that we can, that hopefully what happens is someone sees an ad, gets intrigued by it, and maybe visits demandbase.com or that follows us on LinkedIn or looks us up in some way. So it really becomes top of the funnel for that. When we run targeted, and that's sort of at the advertising level, we then follow up with retargeting invites to webinars or invites to download a piece of content or a great sort of state of advertising report or whatever it is that we're pushing out. Then people are more likely to click on those because like, oh yeah, this is that brand that does blank. Oh, I looked at that. I'm going to go check this out. This topic's really interesting to me. Webinars are typically not bottom of the funnel either. They're sort of middle. And then once that happens, then it becomes kind of email, organic, land on the website, poke around, engage with a web chat, fill out a form to download something and request a meeting. That's kind of where it becomes sort of take action. I'm ready to raise my hand and talk to somebody. But yeah, so they all work in different ways. They just work at sort of different stages during the journey.
John, is she giving you good leads? Come on, man.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's actually where I thought you were going on this question here. It was to try and force some conflict here, but no. All kidding aside, look, I think actually your question is a really good one, Wes, and I think we're all that kind of curmudgeony executive in some ways who's kind of become jaded and has become kind of frustrated with all the unpersonalized volume-based methods that have been hitting us, right? And there's so much noise out there, and so I do think to your point, I can already look at my inbox and in my email, and already my eyes can filter out people that are sending me unpersonalized, prospecting. I don't even click into them. I can spot them from a mile away. That's how our brains have become trained for this. And so it really does, put a lot of onus, I think, on sellers and marketers to make sure that you show up credible, personalized, and touching the people that matter, right? And so I do think, to Kelly's point, that's one of the things that Demandbase really does give the benefit of is you can actually see is Wes someone that you want to sell to? Is Wes actually out there researching your product? Is Wes talking to your competition? Is he searching for terms that you can help him solve, right? And so when you reach out to Wes, no longer is it that cold outreach of, hey, Wes, I see you went and, want to have coffee kind of thing and talk about our product and how we can help you grow here. It really is hey, we think you might be in market for this type of technology. We would love to set up some time to help you with this problem that we think you may be having. And it's just a better, more well-received, I'd say, reach out than, when you're getting hit up for something repetitively that you don't care about, don't know about, don't want to know about. And so, long story short, it's a ever evolving, adapting world we're living in here. And I do think the world of sales has gotten, more and more challenged. I'd say in my 20 plus years of selling, I've never seen it so hard, but I would say, that's also what gets me really excited about the world we're coming into is there's so many new tools coming to the forefront that can make this, a better tomorrow. It's basically on all of us to figure out how do we adapt to that and use it in the right ways there. So that's my long rant on that. Kelly does a great job. The leads are not weak. She'd probably say you're weak.
The leads are weak.
Back to me and respond.
You are weak.
Yeah, proper setup there. But look, we're
Your
all,
job is to get them to sign on the line, which is dotted.
That would be another epic moment there too. Again, the quote off. Yeah, it's it's been fun going through this, navigating this with Kelly. Like we said, kind of one of the most challenging, times in the world. Finding ways to be successful and to stand out in the noise.
Are your folks? Are you doing outbound much, or are you following up on leads once they're qualified?
Yeah, we're primary, so we are not, inbound. The beauty of our, kind of product is it allows us to see West before West even comes to us. It's like we can kind of see the future. And so in a lot of ways we do get inbound, but I would say like, largely a lot of our, prospecting efforts is outbounding. It's being able to catch you right as you're starting to think about it, as you're beginning your search, because we think that, kind of speed is the key there. I think actually what I do love about this new world that we're coming into is I do think like prospecting is becoming important again. I think discipline is becoming important again. I think like the things that you and I knew growing up, Wes, that probably kind of fell by the wayside when things were, look, it was pretty frothy and people were buying real freely. It was easy to get lucky with kind of spray and, spray and pray methods and, just trying to cover the world. I think a lot of folks, were able to be successful, with some luck and bad habits. And so now we're in this kind of process of like unwinding some of that. So I am happy to see outbounding becoming more kind of part of the process and part of the balanced, kind of approach to prospecting. We do it through kind of all channels, kind of social. We have kind of a 7-touch strategy that we employ, but it kind of touches, multiple different kind of ways to reach out. So we make sure that we're, kind of reaching out to them and they've heard of us. And when the third or fourth kind of reach out comes in, they're kind of more, kind of warmed up and ready for it.
So I've always been confused with this, the spray and pray and whatnot approach. I spent a decade in corporate America, primarily in high tech. One of my early clients was Sprint, and this was like 2000, late 2000, early 2001. I went to A&M, but first I went to the Air Force Academy, and the Air Force sent me to A&M, and we had a database, and there was a West Point grad that was the president of the division that I called into. And I sent one email and referenced the Academy connection. And, and the subject was like, would the Army ever do business with a lowly Air Force puke? And I mean, he replied within like 90 minutes, CC'd the VP, and man, I had a license to hunt. Yeah. So it's 23 years ago. I didn't know anything about account-based marketing, go to market, about all this. I mean, it was just common sense. It's like, let's find some common ground and talk to them. And then when I was with the company that brought me out here to California, I moved here in 2004. So I've been here 20 years. One of our verticals was hospitals. And so I wouldn't have all the insights that demand base could give me now, but like Phoenix was a territory. One of my biggest clients was in Phoenix, but I would just use that. If I called a hospital here in Los Angeles, I knew I wanted to talk to the CIO, and it was just, hey, I'm doing business with John C. Lincoln Memorial was the chain in Phoenix, and it's like, hey, we're helping them with improved uptimes, with cleanliness and operating rooms, with locking down, ports on the desktop for HIPAA security and taking away the monetary risk by putting dumb clients on the desktop. So if they get stolen, it's a couple $100 instead of a couple thousand. Yeah. I don't suppose you're having any of those issues, are you? Yeah, all of them. Yeah. So it's like, how much data do we really need? Are we getting soft? Right? Don't need to bash some skulls, huh? You're fired, right? Instead of steak knives, BMW, Cadillac. I mean, it's like, do I need all this information? Like, what's your job title? What's your industry? What are the problems you probably have? Hello, let's talk, right? Are we complicating things?
I'll give my quick stab. One, my husband went to West Point, and he probably just felt sorry for you because you went to Air Force. So I'll throw that out there. And that's what.
Well, look, wow. Not everybody can get in.
These are turning on each other. All right,
John,
exactly.
We like John, but he couldn't get into A&M. It's okay. There's standards.
Yeah. I think what's changed for me, at least, and definitely like my observation, John lives it, is those phone calls used to go to an office.
Yeah.
Like somebody answering a phone with a known like operator who shoveled phone calls away. Now it goes to cell phones at somebody's house. If you have that number, you probably don't have that number. So it ends up going nowhere. And it's a hope that somebody will see that particular email, or that message will break through, or like the message you sent about, could we ever work together with between West Point and Air Force? Like, I think that does, but that requires personalization, right? You reached out basically saying, I know something about you that's really important, that you went to West Point. We have something in common here. We both served our country. That's great. So let's talk about something. Like, I think that personalization angle is what we're trying to get to. And I think that's where, like, job title and company and doing, like, I think the sellers that do the best are probably, John, you can speak for that, but are the ones who dig in and kind of figure out, like, some background, some story. Like, when they reach out to me and they're like, hey, I read your post about blank, that totally made sense to me. In fact, it made me think. And then they go into some pitch. I'm like, they did their homework. Like, I want to reward that. So I just think it's a different game, because we just don't have, like, a hospital number and a CIO to call. Like, he's at home. So, well, maybe a hospital is different, but a lot of our customers are sitting at home somewhere. And you just can't find them the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gotten definitely more difficult, and that's for sure. And I appreciate Kelly's call out on that. I think we did get lazy too, I would say, and I'll take some onus as the sales personality here on the call here. I think in frothy times, people kind of got away from process. They did things that were easier, right? It takes time to research. It takes time to personalize. We all know it's the right thing to do, but I think we let folks do that, and I think that's where things got out of control. Have a frustration with all these email sequencing tools like Outreach and SalesLoft, and nothing against, I love both of those companies, by the way. Like, we're fans, and we use them. What I don't like is when they're handed over to junior sellers. Sometimes we just hand them over to SDRs and we give them the keys to the Ferrari and say, go take it for a spin. And so, you have a first time seller who's able to send 1,000 emails in a day, right? And they're definitely not going to be personalized at that scale, right? And so, that created a lot of this problem we're reacting to. They didn't take the time to research them. I think actually Kelly and I have talked about, like, bad ones that we've gotten, and I've gotten ones that, like, our competitors reaching out to me to ask me if I would be willing to buy their product. And I'm like, did you even just, like, look on LinkedIn? Like, we compete with each other. There's not a day where I would buy your product. But it just shows.
Do not give salespeople bulk send ability. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do it.
I call it loading up the spam cannon, Wes. And, like, if you let them fire the spam cannon, they will do it all day. And so, look, we're in that now recoil moment of, I think, Google is now tightening down send limits, or else you get blocked as spam. I think, like, auto dialers, I think are going to be probably the next ones that are kind of ratcheted in on. And, as a consumer, I'm actually here for that. I want to be able to answer my phone one of these days, not knowing who the number is, and not know that it's for sure going to be someone who's going to try and sell to me, right? So, some of these things got out of control, and we probably got a little bit soft, maybe. So I think this is a good kind of moment of, we can tighten up, and we can really focus in, and we can embrace some of the difficultness here, with powerful tools at our disposal here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Zig when they zag. I'm start doing more live events and bringing people together. And, man, I think we're just losing our humanity, So kudos for making people take responsibility. So at least trying to, right? So your book, it's coming out, like, right now?
I think it's right? The 11th.
June 11th? 11th? Yep. So in a couple of weeks here.
So what did the CEO think of this? You're like, no, really, we're going to get together, but it'll be like after hours. We won't let this really interfere. But if we do meet to talk about the book, it's for the benefit of the company. So really, you should send us on a writing retreat, like Hawaii, Aruba. It'll really, was that a hard sell?
We never really asked, did we? Sorry, Gabe. We worked with our comms agency that was working with us on overall just messaging platform for us. And they basically just, I guess by glamorous retreat, we mean one day in, like, a WeWork space in Bee Cave, Texas, for about 8 hours. And then that was it. And then about 1 hour a week to review content and things like that, to get through the details and double click into stories and things. But it hasn't been too bad. And I think it's all for the greater good of, at the end of the day, sales and marketing alignment's a big challenge. We want to really help drive a solution to that, or help share tips and tricks and understanding there. And then also recognize that, the selfish part of it is that account-based marketing and account-based sales is a big solution for driving alignment. When you're all aligned to the same metrics, the same target account list, the same motions, and you're watching together, you're sort of holding hands all the way through the process. It'll change your business. And so I think that's the connection between sales and marketing alignment and what we do for demand base.
Well, you got a tough job, Kelly, because John sends it over full of typos. Your husband reads it. He doesn't catch any of them. So you got to like play double duty. Like, damn it, I got to
just clean up West Point and Longhorn over here.
Probably just let him talk, right? You just kind of write it, just kind of clean it up. Well, hey,
I'm loving this. I was going to say, yeah, I'm loving it.
Now UT joins the SEC. Oh. So now we're going to watch them crumble into dust.
That's right.
And I'm here for it.
Yes.
Write it down. Remember this. I was going to say, I can't wait for the recap of this. Let's plan this around, kind of like the middle of next year. I think it'd be great to just kind of see how this all goes. But yeah, I like our chances.
Puff leagues, all these powder puff leagues. We're undefeated. We played 7 Division III schools and 4 conference games. We had a combined win of 3. Okay, wow. Oh, give me a break. SEC, baby. Sure. Get ready for the heat.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
That's right.
What's that?
Yeah.
November 30th. I think that's when we see each other.
Yep. Yeah. And we've actually begun. I think middle of July is when we actually make the official cutover, but they're already like spray painting our fields with the SEC logo. Like it's happening, and the hype reels that have been coming out are pretty fun to watch. So all jokes aside, I would say we need this rivalry back. It's been 15 years, I think, since we played. It was such a source of like fun camaraderie. It's been missing, and I didn't realize how much I missed it until a little more recently as I've seen some of these matchups. So it's going to be fun to see us all come back together in the Super Conference.
Yeah, buddy.
Saturday night in College Station, it was definitely alive and well. So it was fun to see the Aggies and Longhorns going back at it. So it was good.
Very nice. All right. Kelly Hopping, John Eitel. Yes, it's your fault. From blame to gain. Yes. Well, congrats on the book.
Thank you.
Have fun in Denver. My mom's in Bastrop, so I'll be coming out soon. I'll give y'all a call.
Awesome.
And we'll make the UT guy buy us drinks and tacos and margaritas and queso.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that sounds great.
We'll align on something we can all agree on, which is barbecue and queso.
We're going to take a vote,
I'm
John.
looking forward to it here.
It'll be a democratic process. We're going to vote. Okay, but so you can't say it wasn't fair. All right.
Awesome. I look forward to it, Wes.
Great to meet you, Kelly. Good to see you again, John.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Now go sell something. All right.
All right.
Will do.
Good luck with your home HOA there, Wes. Good catching up.
Why we got to end on that note? I'm going to have to delete that out.